Just wanted to say a few things. We as United States citizens and Missourians have the natural right to defend ourselves against violent criminal activity or oppression. We also have the civic duty to defend our state as well as the right to form a well-organized militia if threatened by an oppressive federal government. How are we to do that if we lose our right to bear arms, especially if we are restricted to bolt-action rifles with 7-round magazines, as some would have? In defense of our free state, the right to keep and bear arms is directly linked to the right to life. Currently, the greatest threat to the Second Amendment rights of United States citizens is the federal government, through either their own laws or executive orders or by enforcing UN treaties. This bill helps protect Missourians against that threat. The President has on numerous occasions reminded us that he has a pen and a phone and is willing to use them to make things happen if Congress doesn't act as he wishes. This bill will prevent him from using executive orders to implement unconstitutional laws to diminish Missourians' ability to defend themselves. In the past, when asked about his thoughts on the Constitution, the President stated, and I quote, "I think it's a remarkable document, the original Constitution as well as the Civil War amendments. But I think it is an imperfect document, and I think it is a document that reflects some deep flaws in American culture and colonial culture nascent at the time." This is the exact same document he swore to preserve, protect, and defend in his oath of office. Even if we convince our law enforcement officers, cannot convince our law enforcement officers to arrest federal agents trying to enforce these unconstitutional executive orders and or laws that this bill protects us from, just making it against the law for them to assist will be huge. Thus far I have heard, well, I gotta skip that part, it's been mentioned already. Some people will say, what about the supremacy clause? Well, supremacy clause only applies, from my understanding, to laws that are pursuant to the Constitution. This bill addresses only laws deemed unconstitutional, from what I understand. Seems like a no-brainer to me. What's more is the next logical step in the fight for more gun control is to make gun owners register their firearms. This can only lead to confiscation in the future, as we all know criminals or those with criminal intent will not be registering their firearms. This will only affect law-abiding citizens, and these are not the people we have to fear. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you for your testimony. Do we have questions for this witness, Senator Shaw?
Sir, you said you were in the military?
Yes.
At what age did you go into the military?
18.
Did they immediately teach you how to handle weapons?
Yes, basic training.
Basic training. So you dealt with a lot of other recruits your age?
Sure.
After you finished basic training, did you have any experience working with recruits and people aged 18 to 21?
I'm sorry.
Did you have any experience while you were in the military dealing with people ages 18
Sure.
to 21?
My peers.
Your peers? So you have an extensive experience then dealing with young people, all of whom were trained in how to deal with weapons.
Correct.
Are you also familiar with the training that's required in order to carry a concealed weapon in Missouri?
Yes, sir.
What is your opinion with regard to whether or not the training that's required to carry a concealed carry, to have the permit, is adequate for the 19 to 21-year-old age group?
Well, now this has been since 1983 when I took basic training. From what I remember, we were taught basic general safety. Always keep it pointed in a safe direction. Always assume it's loaded. Taught how to properly shoot, but nothing more than you're taught necessarily through the concealed carry permit process.
Have you been through the training that's required for the concealed carry
Yes.
process? So you've been through them both, so you can
Yes.
speak with authority. Do you think that there's anything special about the military training that makes a 19-year-old more eligible to handle a weapon than a 19-year-old who's only been through
don't see. I think the concealed carry permit, you have to, you qualify just as you would in the military. Of course, you're doing it with a pistol versus a rifle at different yardages where it's just a single yardage with a pistol. Beyond that, safe handling of the firearms is strictly taught, that you have to get a certain amount of hours of classroom time to get your permit.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service. Anyone else to ask questions of this witness? Seeing none, please leave your form there, and then if the next person who's going to be speaking, how many more do we have to speak in favor? How many more to speak in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, and how many more to speak against? Did you all do that on purpose earlier, where those of you that were against were on one side and those who were on favor were on the other? So you're the last one to speak against.
That's correct.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
If you would introduce yourself to the committee and take 3 minutes or less to present your case.
Absolutely.